So there's a few key points about bagging that job that you want. And the number one, the most important one, is being visible. In order to have people find you, obviously, if you're hiding somewhere, they can't find you. So you need to be visible. And what do I mean by that? Is in today's day and era, you need to have a LinkedIn profile. Obviously, you don't need to, but if you really want to be found, you need to have one, and making sure it's up to date. And if you have things to show, create a portfolio with the things you've done, not only LinkedIn, but having that profile and having that portfolio available isn't enough if you're not also making sure that people know who you are. So make sure that you have your target company that you would like to get a job at and engage with them and that content. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure you see what that company's posting, like it, comment, make sure they start to recognize you and see who you are. So kind of making people see you, not only by having a profile on whatever site it is, whether it's LinkedIn or another site, make sure they also notice you. So that's all about being visible. So that was my quick version. And the second part is your CV still matters. So no matter your personal opinion about a CV being old school or it's not modern or your LinkedIn profile should be enough, that doesn't matter, because the fact of the matter is that the CV is still being used in all recruitment. There might be a few companies where CVs aren't necessarily used, but the majority of recruiters and hiring managers are still requiring a CV. And it also might be the case that even though your LinkedIn profile is available and you can use it to apply for a job, there might be some information that you don't want to share with the world, perhaps details about what you achieved at your latest job and things like that that shouldn't be shared with the world, that you only want to keep in your CV. So in order to bag that job, you need to make sure that your CV is available and up to date. And not too long, not long-winded, in the right order. I'm not going to go through what a great CV looks like. There's lots of information out there about what a CV is, but the one key thing about a CV that I always say when giving this advice is that I should be able to read your CV or find information in your CV without actually having to read it, which means no matter where I look on your CV, I should be able to understand the information I'm looking at. I shouldn't have to read it top to bottom. So no matter where I'm looking at your CV, I should understand what I'm looking at. Reading without reading. Okay, so second bit. I got a bit thrown off when I had to start again. The second, flattery. I mean, finding that job and finding that company that you really want to work at is a little bit like dating. You have to flatter them. So as I mentioned, that being visible and commenting on content and liking it, also flatter them, tell them why you like that company. When you apply, tell them, you think their products are awesome or what they're doing is great, or you've heard about something else, their great culture. Flatter people. People want to know you like them. And companies and the people behind the companies, they're the same. So flattery is always, always a good thing. But at the same time, you got to keep it at a good level. So don't be needy. Don't like absolutely everything. Don't find everything they do amazing. Don't apply for every job they put out there. Basically, apply for the jobs that you feel you'd be good at. So even though this is the company you want to work at and you almost just want a foot in the door to get in, as recruiters, we generally work with a system. So if you apply for every job out there, the system would tell us that you've applied for every job we have on our website. And that's going to make us question, what is it that you want? What are you good at? What kind of role are you after? So do flatter us, do give us attention, but don't be needy. Don't go after all the jobs out there. I hope that all makes sense. And, okay, where am I? So that's the second bit. So let's give it a quick recap. So you have to be visible. You've got to have your profile out there, maybe even your own website, your portfolio, and making sure that you are making yourself visible to the people that you want to see you. So not just having that profile, but also engaging with content and engaging with that company. Flattery can get you quite far. I mean, telling a company that you find their product amazing and that you would really love to work on it, I mean, they're going to like you. Whereas if you apply and say, oh, you know, I don't really know what you do, but I just want a job, that's not going to get you anywhere. I've had candidates saying that. You call them up and you ask them, okay, why did you apply for this job? Oh, I just want a job. It doesn't really matter how good you are. I'm going to be quite hesitant to take you further in the process if that's all you're after. Where if you flatter me and kind of go, well, I think your company has a great culture or something like that, you know, I'm going to be listening. But don't be desperate. Don't apply for every job posted on the website. That's not going to get you anywhere. And the fourth point that I haven't mentioned previously is being honest. And this is more when it comes to once you're engaged and once you have contact with the company, and maybe even in an interview session, they're asking you things and asking you about your experience. Be honest about what you know and what you don't know. No matter what you might think, recruiters aren't asking you questions to trip you up. We're asking questions to find out more about you, to ask what knowledge you have, to maybe know that, okay, you don't have so much knowledge about this particular area, which means we'll have to give you that extra support once you start. So it isn't about tripping you up. So be honest about your own skills and abilities and what you're good at and what you need more support with. That's my recap. So I wanted to see with you if you have any questions. Okay, what is a reasonable amount of company research you should do? That's a good question, and I think that is quite individual. Personally, as a recruiter, I understand that people might see a job and be really excited about a company after reading the ad, for example, or maybe seeing some content. So I'm not personally not expecting you to know all there is you can about the company. You don't have to know the ins and outs, but obviously enough to be able to maybe flatter us, you know, knowing that information. What did excite you? Why did you apply? What do you know about us that makes you want to have this job? So I'm not expecting you to know ins and outs and all the details about the company, but if you know nothing, then I'm kind of questioning motivations for actually wanting to join the company. And Marina's asking, what about the covering letter? Okay, that's again a personal choice. Personally, I'm not against, but I don't read cover letters. So therefore, if you apply for a job, currently I'm at Toca Boca. If you apply for a job at Toca Boca, cover letter isn't a possibility. There's no spot for you to upload a cover letter. I'm not asking for one. But if there is the space to upload a cover letter with your application, then obviously the recruiter is asking for one. So then you need to have one. And what you need to mention in the cover letter isn't about your family, isn't about your 4 cats and what you enjoy, but it's how you see yourself fit for this position. You know, what is it in your CV that we can't see? Why do you like the company? Again, maybe that flattery bit is coming in again in the cover letter and why you are suitable. So the cover letter isn't a personal letter, as we say in Swedish, about your person or personal life, but it's why you are a good fit for the job you just applied for. That's what should be in the cover letter. Okay, let me see the other questions. There's lots of them. So how to get a job in the industry if you don't have previous experience in that industry, like blockchain. Again, that all depends. It's individual from each company. Sometimes depending on the role, like if you're looking for somebody and it's the first position, like at Toca Boca, I've just been looking for a product owner. and is the first product owner we're ever taking in. So therefore, we're looking for somebody with experience and probably industry experience as well, as is the first position in the company. But once we have that in place, and the ability, and we've learned from that person, we're probably going to be more open to bringing in people from other industries because their experience would help us. So it kind of depends on the position, if it's new for the company. If it's an established team with the knowledge in there, you're probably more likely to be able to get that job without the industry experience. But it's also, again, showing that interest. And even if you haven't worked with, let's say, blockchain, you can show your interest with that and your knowledge about that without having worked. And maybe using that cover letter to be able to show how the experience you do have can be applied to the areas of blockchain. Okay, thank you for sound advice. If you're starting out as a freelancer, what advice would you have for landing clients? You know what, Elena? It's that being visible, is making sure people know who you are and making a name for yourself. So it's almost giving a little, I'm not saying give away lots of free advice and free information, but it's giving that snippets of your knowledge and sharing that on the platforms where your potential clients are. So making sure they know who you are, know that you have that experience, and know who to go to for that knowledge. So it's again, being visible. That's my advice for landing clients. I don't know if you're still here. I've gone over my session by 1 minute, but let's keep going until somebody stops me. How do you find internship data analytics with companies in Sweden? Because most companies do not post for them. I would say, Delaney, it's, again, find those companies that do have data analytics as part of their team, engage with them, connect with their current data analysts, their data scientists, connect with them, engage with them. Again, being visible, making sure they know who you are. So when there is that internship opening up, they'll remember you. But don't be on them all the time. Don't be needy, going after. It's just making sure people are aware of who you are and what you know. When you start as a student, which size of company would you apply to? Any size of company. It really doesn't matter. Should you include all experience in your resume or just relevant stuff? An ideal page count. Ideal page count is about 2 pages. Obviously, I'm not going to hate you if it's 3 pages long, if the 3rd page contains relevant information. But, when you start going longer and you got 10 freaking pages, I'm not going to read. If you send me a 10-page CV, I promise you, I'm not going to read your 10 pages. Just not going to happen. So make sure the relevant information is on the 2 pages, maybe a 3rd page, but then it has to be proper relevant. What else were you saying? And include experience in resume or just relevant stuff. Obviously, the more experience you have, the more kind of picky you can have with including your relevant experience. I would tailor each CV to the job you're applying for. So if you've been a cashier at a supermarket 10 years ago, yeah, don't include it if you're applying to develop a job. That's not necessarily relevant. But don't remove loads of stuff, creating holes in your CV. So I'm going to wonder, what did you do that year? Did you do nothing? But each CV should be tailored to the job you're applying for, making sure that experience is relevant. It doesn't mean you should remove the irrelevant stuff, but maybe you should highlight the relevant stuff. That was Mark's question. Yes, it's better to tailor the CV, Telma, and create different versions focusing on different skills. Exactly. Tailor your CV to the job you're applying for. Internship in startup, good way to enter the job market? Yes, definitely. It is, Vismit, because if I get a CV, you got somebody who's done an internship and somebody who's done nothing, obviously the internship wins. That's font size, not tiny. So this is actually a good question. So when we say 2-page CVs, that doesn't mean make it a tiny font so that everything fits on the 2 pages, because that's annoying. It means removing the irrelevant stuff, highlighting the relevant things and adding that. So the CV reads well on 2 pages. The tiny CVs, you can see when people have been given the advice of having a 2-page CVs and all they've done is just made it smaller. It's not very good. Any other questions? I've gone over by 5 minutes. No, it's quiet. Awesome. Then I say thank you, everybody, for coming to my session. You'll find me on all social media with at Sofia Broberger, because I'm the only one in the world with that name. Got a website and I've got a training website as well. That's where you can find me if you want to. It was lovely speaking to you all. Oh, I see a question. Is it wise? What is wise to approach recruiters? You know what? I'd say that's a personal preference, Delaney, but I'm kind of, if you apply using the system, I will see your application. So there's no need in approaching me because I will have see you in the system. So I would say that's not necessary, Delaney. And you was here. Awesome. Cool. I'm just checking out. Everyone's saying thank you. It's been awesome. Yay, you won again. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your next session.